Hello, hello. Welcome to day 9 of this Business English 30-day idiom course. I'm going to jump right into it. Today we are looking at business English idioms connected to concluding. And excuse me, I'm going to start by quickly reminding you that idioms are expressions that we need to learn the literal meaning for, and that they are used extensively by native speakers in spoken English. And all of these idioms that I am teaching in this 30-day challenge are appropriate for professional contexts. They're business English idioms. But they wouldn't be used in written communication. They would be far too informal, and native speakers use them very sparingly. And I would really recommend that you pay attention to when you hear these idioms, make note of it, because if you are coming across it, finding it in your daily work life or the movies you're watching or the podcasts you're listening to, then that's a really important one that you want to focus on. There's so many that we're going through. That's a way of kind of weeding them out, as in sorting through them, deciding which ones you want to focus on. Focus on the ones that you repeatedly hear, especially if you're working in an English-speaking environment. So today we are looking at idioms related to finishing or concluding things, and these are the ones we're going to go through. So we're looking at call it a day, draw the line, put something to rest, cut something short, and close the door. Okay, I'm going to start as always by showing the idioms in context. Please bear in mind, as in remember, that you wouldn't use all the idioms all at once. You'd use them very sparingly, which means just a little bit at a time. But for the purposes of just getting a feel for the idioms, I've put them all together, all at once. I'm going to read through this and just get a feel for the idioms. Then we'll go through the idioms, and then at the end we'll go over it again and see if it makes, hopefully, a lot more sense. Okay. Over time, sales of what had previously been the company's flagship product had started to dry up. Okay, just quickly, a flagship product means a product that a company is famous for, and a product that perhaps was the reason that the company started. So it means the most successful product that a company has, that they've had since the beginning. And then if something dries up, it comes to an end or closes. So if the sales have dried up, that means they've stopped making sales. Okay, I'm going to start from the beginning again. Over time, sales of what had previously been the company's flagship product had started to dry up. Josie felt the issue could be fixed by making updates to the product, but this idea was laid to rest when the team tried many times with little result. Eventually, everyone decided it was time to call it a day. In their final strategy meeting, they agreed to draw the line under the attempts to fix the problem and to stop selling the product altogether. I know some of you would like to keep trying to find a solution, Rachel stated. I have to cut that conversation short, though. It's just not worth our time. Let's close the door on it all. We need to focus on new ideas. Okay, so we have a situation where the flagship product, the most important product, has suffered a lack of sales, and they've decided to not sell it anymore. If not all of that made sense, that's okay. At the end, we'll go through it and I'll explain it bit by bit, but hopefully you yourself will feel like it makes more sense when we go through it the second time. Okay, we're going to start looking at the idioms, starting with call it a day. I'll give you 2 examples and then we'll go through the meaning, and then I'll give you a prompt that you can practice with. Okay, so example number 1. We've been working for hours. Let's call it a day and continue tomorrow. After finishing all the tasks on the agenda, the team decided to call it a day. So, what do you think call it a day means? Well, it means to stop working or end an activity. Um, if you think about your working day, at the end, you'd say, okay, that is the end of the day. And to call it in itself, when you use to call it, that means to make a decision. So to call it a day, to make a decision that you're going to finish the working day. So we can talk about ending work, finishing for the day, or wrapping up. Over to you. Here's a prompt that I would love if you want to have a go in the comments. Practice using the idiom in the comment section, or practice it on your own, writing it out. But if you leave it in the comment, whether you're watching live or on the replay, I will respond. I will come back and look at the comments. Another alternative is to take out your phone, use the ChatGPT app, and ask ChatGPT if you can have a back and forth conversation about a time where you had difficulty calling a day. So use ChatGPT to take this prompt and have a conversation about it. Okay, anyway, I didn't give you the prompt. Here it is. Have you ever had difficulty calling it a day when working on a challenging project? Okay, the next one, draw the line. I understand being asked to work late occasionally, but I draw the line at needing to work weekends without extra pay. And the second example, it's important to draw the line between constructive feedback and micromanagement. Okay, constructive feedback means criticism that's intended to help you and be constructive. Micromanagement means being overmanaged, someone commenting or criticizing on tiny little things in a way that stops you making progress. Okay, you can probably get the connotation, the thought, and the feeling of this idiom, that it's negative, and or it's talking about, not in itself negative, but it's talking about negative situations. If you draw the line, you set a boundary or limit, indicating that something is unacceptable. It's negative to you, cannot be accepted. So we can talk about setting a boundary, establishing limits, defining the limit, drawing the line, and saying no. So I draw the line at this, or I draw the line between these two things. But it is saying, here is where my willingness to do this ends. I draw the line here. Okay, over to you. Share a time when you had to draw the line. Now that's quite a personal one, but you could practice that on your own, write it out. A time I had to draw the line was, or I had to draw the line when. It could be about work, could be about your personal life. If you're willing to share in the comments, amazing. But otherwise, do have a practice on your own. Think about a time where you had to draw the line. Perhaps it was in accepting your working hours or conditions at work. I had to draw the line when they repeatedly asked me to come in on a Saturday morning. That's not acceptable to me. So in my classroom teaching career, I've had to draw the line a few times and say no to myself more than to anyone else, because with teaching, the tasks they keep growing and growing, and you could seriously work till really late every day just doing all the extra things. And so personally, not motivated by anyone else, but motivated by my internal desire, I've had to draw the line for myself and say, after this time, I will not work. So I've had to draw the line around my working hours. That's an example for me. Okay, moving on, put something to rest. After the investigation, the team was able to put the rumors to rest. Let's discuss this matter one last time to put it to rest once and for all. Okay, I've got a picture of a kind of judgment hammer that a judge might have in a courtroom, because sometimes you can put things to rest legally. And it means to make someone stop believing something by proving it's not true. So we can talk about settling or resolving or concluding. So there was a court case between the two companies, and it was proved that the first company had not copied from the other company, and the rumors or allegations of that were settled or were put to rest. It was proved that that was not true. Okay, so we can put something to rest by disputing it, or put something to rest for someone or for something. Okay, here's a prompt for you. What's the best way to put an argument to rest? Have a think about that. If you want to join in the comments, that would be amazing, whether you're live or on the replay. It can help to put an argument to rest if you, what would I say? It can help to put an argument to rest if you admit some of the ways that you were also wrong. We always want the other person to admit their faults. It can help to put an argument to rest if we also admit our faults. And maybe another one, not needing to get the last word in. To get the last word in means to be like the last person to say something in an argument. If you can avoid doing that, it helps to put the argument to rest. So in that case, it means finish more than stop believing. So it can also mean like resolve, finish. Okay, cut something short. The meeting was cut short due to a power outage. Okay, so the power went out and had to cut short the meeting. Unfortunately, our holiday was cut short by a terrible storm that meant we had to fly home early. Okay, so this is about time, and specifically about needing to end something earlier than planned or expected. So we can talk about ending abruptly, terminating early, curtailing something. There's a really beautiful formal word. The meeting was curtailed when the manager failed to turn up. So curtailed, ended, cut short. So cut short is quite informal. Curtailed is very formal. So we can cut something short due to or because of. Here's a prompt for you. Have you ever had to cut short a phone call or meeting? Have a think about that one. Practice on your own or in the comments. And we're going to look at this one. Close the door. Okay. With the new policy in place, we can finally close the door on that issue. We're ready to close the door on that unfortunate chapter and move forward. Okay, it's always good to learn collocations, words that often go together, because that makes you sound more fluent. And here's a good example for you. Close the door on often goes with an unfortunate chapter. Unfortunate chapter means a negative thing that ended. So imagine you own a small shop and you had an employee that you really trusted, but then you found out that they were stealing from you, and it was a terrible thing to discover, and it really made you sad, and you had to let the employee go, you had to fire them. You say, oh, that was a terrible time. So if something terrible time is an unfortunate chapter, a terrible experience. So you might say, we let them go, we fired them, and now we're ready to close the door on that unfortunate chapter and move forward by employing someone who hopefully will be really great. So closing the door on an unfortunate chapter means moving on from the past. Okay, that terrible thing is done. I'm going to move forward. Okay, so what does it mean to close the door? It means to bring something to an end or make a final decision about it. Conclude, finalize, put an end to, close the book on. It doesn't necessarily mean something bad, but when you say close the door on that unfortunate chapter, then it does mean that it's bad. But close the door in itself doesn't mean that whatever happened was bad, but it just means to really strongly finish it. So close the door on, and we talk about closing the door on a chapter, whether the chapter is negative or positive, or closing the door on an opportunity. You know, I was of two minds. Remember that idiom from a few days ago? I was of two minds about which job to accept, but I closed the door on the job that was far away from where I live. That means I shut down the possibility of that opportunity. Okay, do you ever get mixed emotions when it's time to close the door on a project? There's another phrase that's good in terms of collocations. So, mixed emotions is a way that a native speaker would talk about feeling both sad and happy at the same time, or a mixture of many different feelings. So, I have mixed feelings, mixed emotions. So, how do you feel about finishing? Well, here's an example from my life. When I finished my first marathon, I thought I would be so happy to cross the finishing line, but I actually had mixed emotions. I was both happy and a little bit sad because so much effort had gone into leading up to it, and there were all different reasons why I was running, and I had achieved this big goal, but it also felt kind of strange. And you're tired. You're tired when you cross the finishing line of a marathon. So I was happy and sad, exhausted and full of energy. It was really a feeling of mixed emotions. So, do you ever get that feeling when you finish a finish a project? Do you ever get the feeling of feeling happy and satisfied, but also a little bit sad? That's your prompt for this one. And yes, that is the last one. We've done them all. It remains to read through this, and hopefully you'll get a feel for the idioms a little bit more, and it will make more sense. Okay, we'll read through it again. Over time, sales of what had previously been the company's flagship product had started to dry up. Josie felt the issue could be fixed by making updates to the product, but this idea was laid to rest. So it was finished or put aside. It was shut down. It was laid to rest when the team tried many times with little result. Eventually, everyone decided it was time to call it a day. So they are calling it a day on continuing with the product. So that's a way of saying everyone decided it was time to stop selling this product. In their final strategy meeting, they agreed to draw the line, so to put a boundary to say no under the attempts to fix the problem and to stop selling the product altogether. I know some of you would like to keep trying to find a solution, Rachel stated. I have to cut that conversation short, though. So she's saying we have to finish early on that conversation, as in no more conversation about fixing it. We're moving on, no more. So I have to stop that conversation. We're not continuing with it. It's just not worth our time. Let's close the door on it all. So let's finish and let's move on to the future. So let's close the door on it all. We need to focus on new ideas. Okay, hopefully when we've read it the second time, you're like, okay, that makes more sense now that we've gone through it all. I'm going to ask you a very quick 2-question quiz, starting with number 1. After finishing the report, Sarah decided to something and head home. A, start a new project. B, call it a day. C, work overtime. D, change career paths. Put your answer in the comments if you want to play along. What do you think would be the answer for that one? And then number 2, Mark is okay with casual banter, but he's something when it comes to making fun of someone's appearance. Okay, casual banter. Casual banter is something that happens a lot in the UK. Banter is when you joke with someone back and forth, but you joke in a way that is playful and is sometimes kind of mocking the other person. So making little jokes that are kind of like having a go at mocking the other person. So this is something that would only be done between very close friends. Otherwise, it could be very offensive or hurtful. But casual banter would be, saying, "Oh, uh, nice of you to turn up." Now that it's the afternoon, if it was like 9:05 and your very close friend at work was late, coming in at 9:05 instead of like before 9. You might say to them, "Oh, nice of you to turn up in the afternoon," and you're criticizing the fact that they're late. You're doing it in a way that is intended to be playful and fun, with an understanding that you're both friends, and that's an example of casual banter. So that happens 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in the UK. There's nothing that British people love more than casual banter. You know that a British person likes you if they playfully interact with you this way, criticize you while having a joke about it, and you do it back and forth, and everybody knows that you're friends and there's no harm meant. In this example, it says Mark is okay with casual banter, but he's something when it comes to making fun of someone's appearance. So making fun of someone's appearance, that's not casual banter, that's bullying, that's horrible. So that's not okay. So which one would it be? Creates a new rule, draws the line, erases a mistake, starts the discussion. What do you think? Okay, so for the first one, after finishing the report, Sarah decided to call it a day. And then, so she decided to end her work day and head home. Second one, Mark is okay with casual banter, but he draws the line when it comes to making fun of someone's appearance. So he will casually mock you in a British way, but he will not bully you, be horrible. Okay, welcome, Jefferson. Thank you for the kind comments. I appreciate that. Jefferson is watching from Sydney, Australia, and is Brazilian. Hola, tudo bem? Hello, nice to meet you. How are you? Thank you for the lovely comments and for being here live. Thank you, all of you who were here live, and all of you who are watching on the replay. It's such a delight to do these. And like I said, remember that if you put comments in, I will interact with them. And you can check later. I will update the description and it will have the link to the free resource library. Okay, I am going to call it a day and wrap up here and finish. But thank you so much, and I hope to see you on tomorrow's live. Bye everyone. Take care.